Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of just trying to survive and learn to love along the way. This will be part 11, chapters 20 and 21. Chapter 20 of Training and Pep Talks. Sunday has them meeting the whole class at the train station as everyone leaves for their internships. Why Izuku had to come, he has no idea. He literally lives with the hero he's interning with. Maybe so that people don't know he lives with his teachers? He walked into the train station with Shouta. If nobody's noticed yet, Izuku doubts they will anytime soon. Todoroki keeps giving him funny looks before he hops on his train, but nobody else seems to notice his behavior. Izuku notices how odd Ida is acting as he hops onto his train to Hosu. There's something about that doesn't sit right with him. Ida got so many offers from so many cool pros, and yet he chose a small, faraway agency. Maybe to get a different experience. Izuku tells himself that he'll check in with Ida soon to make sure he's all right. If he's not, then he'll talk to Shouta about it. Once everybody's left on their trains, Izuku follows Shouta and Hisashi back out to the car, and they drive to UA to use one of the private training rooms. Once there, they get straight to work. All right, little listener, I've been thinking about your little bone-breaking problem. I think you have the opposite problem that I had when I was training with my Quirk. I had to learn to focus it all in one place because otherwise it would just shoot out in all directions. So I think you've got to learn to spread the power of your Quirk out instead of having it focused in one place. With me so far? Izuku nods, already thinking about how he could spread out his power. Whatever Hisashi comes up with is surely better than All Might's egg in a microwave analogy. Now, I also think you're trying to use a little too much of the power. Your body is a lot smaller than All Might's, so it would make sense that you can't use the power to its full extent. That does make a lot of sense. Using more power than his body can handle is a good way to keep hurting himself. Why the egg keeps exploding. One more thing before we get started. We've noticed that you try to emulate All Might's fighting style. While punching things to death is what works for him, you've already damaged your arms quite a bit. So I think if you focus on learning different styles, like kicks or something, then we can keep your arms protected, and you can have a fighting style that's different from All Might's. I'm going to have Sho help with that. Izuku nods, ready to get started. Hisashi has him stand in the middle of the training room, attempting to spread a portion of his power out. He's trying, but it's so hard. It's always just been there, ready to use when he needed it. Now he has to figure out a way to power up his whole body. It takes a while, but eventually he feels the crackle of One for All everywhere. He's sweating and trembling from the exertion, but he tries to maintain the power for as long as possible. He's not even using that much of it. So why is it so hard to maintain? He looks down and notices green pieces of energy across his body. A glance at Hisashi shows him the giant grin on the man's face, and he whoops for joy, punching a fist in the air. Unfortunately, he was so focused on his quirk that he's still got it active. The fist he throws up sends a strong blast of air to the ceiling, and the whole thing shudders before the beams where he punched starts falling, directly above him. Izuku freezes and feels a snake of fabric around his middle just before he's yanked back, away from the falling beams. Just in time, too. They crush where he had been standing not 3 seconds later. Maybe don't jump for joy with your quirk active. The tense voice of Shouta startles him, and Izuku notices the capture scarf still wrapped around his middle. He gives it an experimental tug, but it doesn't budge until Izuku looks at Shouta. and the man knows he got his point across. He looks down at his arm as Shouta removes the capture weapon, expecting to find a mess of broken bones. His arm is completely undamaged, not even a scratch. It didn't hurt? It comes out as barely a whisper, and Shouta leans a little closer before asking him to repeat himself. It didn't hurt, and it's not broken. This is the first time I've used my quirk without breaking anything. See? He shoves his arm into Shota's face, not caring for personal space. Shouta frowns a little at the arm in his face, but the look softens when he sees how excited Izuku is. And he is. He was expecting pain from using his quirk. That's all he's ever experienced with it. Okay, listeners, I say we switch gyms, and I will let Cementos know that this one needs to be fixed. Izuku frowns a little at that, feeling guilty about making more work for the pro. They move to the hallway to find a new training room, and it's only then that Izuku notices he's still trembling. He's never used his quirk that much, and focusing it like that took a lot out of him. He's so tired, and the day has hardly even started. He has to push through this and make progress with his quirk. As soon as the thought enters his mind, he stumbles into Shouta, who gives him a concerned look and pushes him down into a sitting position. All right, we're taking a break now. But we're in the middle of the hallway, and we have to keep going. I'm finally making progress. Shouta frowns at him and places a hand on his head before speaking. This training won't mean anything if you collapse before the first day is over. The others have had 10 years to work with their quirks and build up resistance. You've had yours for less than a year. We don't need to rush this. We will keep training after internships are over. Your health comes first for us, kid. Got it? No one has ever put him first before anything before. It brings that warm feeling back, and Izuku is so confused. Why would his guardians put him first? Why do you care so much? Shouta frowns at him before answering. It's because we love you, kid. Have we really not told you yet? And now, Izuku is crying, completely overwhelmed. No one has. Shouta places a comforting hand on his head, while Izuku tries to stop the tears. He knows that when someone says they love you, you're supposed to say it back. But anyone that Izuku has loved has hurt him and left. Deep down, he knows that the heroes would never do that to him. He's seen how much they care. But that doesn't get rid of the fear, only makes it worse, because he cares about them too. And if they left, it would completely break him. Hey, you don't have to say it back, problem child. Shota's voice cuts through his worrying, using some sort of sixth sense to guess his thoughts. He ruffles his curls before retracting his hand and standing. Now, how about instead of wearing you out more, we train something else? Your mind. That sounds a lot like homework. Not that Izuku would refuse to do homework. He loves learning all the stuff that he gets to learn in the hero course. Actually, I have something else in mind. I've heard a few rumors about your notebooks. Something about analysis? How in the world Shouta heard about those, he will never know. Oh, well, I like to analyze hero quirks and the fights they participate in. I did a lot when I was younger to stay out of the house. I have 13 now. I haven't had the chance to work on them in a while. Nobody ever taught me or anything, so they're not very good. Shouta frowns at him before Hisashi butts in. "You think we could take a look, listener?" Well, they're at home right now." "We can go home. We're not doing anything else physical today anyways." Izuku just nods his assent, a little nervous about them seeing his notebooks. He even has notes on his guardians in those. This could go poorly. Chapter 21 of Analysis and More Training. It does not go poorly. Not at first. Izuku is practically bouncing in his seat while the pros go through every single notebook of his. They keep making positive comments and giving him little changes to make where he either had outdated information or was wrong. Some of them are very old, and he was pretty young back when he started. They have less and less changes to make when they make it to the more recent volumes. They pause when they get to number 13 and spot the damage. "What happened to this one?" Shouta looks a little concerned about it, eyeing up the burn marks and water damage. "Oh, well, one of my bullies used his quirk on my notebook before throwing it into a pond. Then one of his friends told me to..." Izuku cuts himself off, unable to finish. "To kill yourself." Shouta is blunt, and he sounds upset, so Izuku can't meet their gazes as he nods slowly, tears welling in his eyes. "I have to know, listener, how many of those scars are from him?" Izuku looks up in shock at that, and his tears make their way down his face. He raises shaking hands to answer, not trusting his voice. "When did you see those?" "In the hospital, when they had to fix your arm. I'm guessing there are more than what we saw." "He only gave me a few of them. My back is worse. The other bullies used to push me from behind a lot while using their quirks. Mom was always extra mad those days because I went home with ruined uniforms that she had to replace. She decided to add to the marks while they were still fresh. She just used a knife instead of a quirk. That came later." Izuku doesn't know if his hands are even legible, with how much they're shaking now. He can hardly see them through his tears anyway. His hands are still raised to sign, but he has nothing else to say. He didn't mean to say that much in the first place. Warm hands close around his and hold them steady. Izuku blinks away some tears so that he can see a little more clearly, and he finds Hisashi crouched in front of his chair. He's got a sad look on his face and looks close to crying. Izuku hates that he put that look there. He starts crying harder when Hisashi tugs him forward, by the hands into his chest, wrapping his arms tightly around him. Izuku grips the back of his jacket as tightly as he can, almost afraid to let go. He has to eventually, so he pulls back reluctantly, scrubbing at his eyes to try and stop the crying. "Sorry." "Hey, nothing to be sorry for, problem child." Shouta gives him a smile from his position on the floor next to Hisashi. When did he get there? "Why don't we take a little break from all this serious stuff and watch a movie or something?" Just a short one. We can't be slacking off when my classmates are all working hard, Sashi." Hisashi grins, clearly pleased that Izuku used his nickname. He doesn't know why he did. It just felt right. "Of course, listener. You know Sho here wouldn't let us slack off." "Can we watch the one with Toothless in it? You never told me the name." The cat chirps at the sound of her name and plunks herself in the middle of their huddle on the floor. "Well, now we have to. It's called How to Train Your Dragon. Get ready to watch Sho cry." Izuku laughs at the blush on Shota's face. I don't cry, Zashi. Izuku speaks before Hisashi has the chance to. Sure, Sho. Shota raises his eyebrows at him before speaking again. How could you, Hisashi? You've turned my own son against me. Izuku almost starts crying again when Shota calls him that. His son. It sounds so nice. They sit through the movie, and Shota makes fun of Izuku and Hisashi for crying. They don't mention that they noticed how close he got to tearing up near the end. They don't get back to work afterwards. They decide to work on something other than Quirk training on the second day of internships. They start the morning focusing on Quirkless fighting, trying to find what he's good at. It's hard work, but Izuku finds himself having fun. He's already learning so much, and it's only the second day of internships. They find he's a natural at evasive maneuvers and say it's because he's so small. What Izuku doesn't tell them is that it's because he's had years of practice evading bullies. However, his guardians both have a look in their eyes that tells him they already know. Shota focuses on teaching him every evasive move he can until he's got them drilled into his memory. After a break for lunch, Shota brings out a small bag he'd brought with him to school. I've got a little surprise for you. It's something I want to train you how to use. It won't be easy. Shota pulls something awfully familiar out of his bag. Is that what I think it is? Shota just nods as he hands him a cream-colored scarf, only a few shades darker than his capture weapon. He helps Izuku drape it around his neck and gives him a few demonstrations of the proper arm movements before he lets him try, without the scarf at first. When he's satisfied, he lets Izuku try it out, and he somehow manages to trip himself within 4 seconds. Don't worry about it. It took me a long time to get the hang of it. You'll get it much faster because I'm here to teach you. Izuku nods before trying, feeling extra determined. He wants to make Shota proud. An hour later finds him completely tangled up, unsure of how it happened. It takes both Shota and Hisashi to free him. Once he's freed, they take a short break before moving on to Quirk training. It goes a little better than yesterday did, and he doesn't break any training rooms. It's late afternoon before they wrap it up. Hisashi decides he should see what a real patrol is like. So he tags along with the hero. They leave, just the two of them, while Shota goes to nap somewhere before he has his own patrol tonight. They walk down the streets in their hero costumes, keeping an eye out for anything and waving at people who recognize Present Mike. Now, my patrols are much different than Eraserhead's. Do you know why? Well, he's an underground hero, so he works mostly at night. And he finds crimes as they're taking place and stops them. You, as a more recognizable hero, act more as a deterrent to crime because you patrol so visibly. But you still stop crimes as they take place? Correct, listener. Although today I chose one of the safer routes that doesn't see much crime, so we shouldn't run into anything today. Izuku nods and returns his focus to the world around them. They keep at it for a few hours before heading home, and thankfully they don't run into any crime. Izuku is grateful for that. He doesn't think he's ready to face another villain so soon. They continue the next day much in the same fashion, Izuku training with Hisashi and Shota for a few hours in the morning, then going out and patrolling for the afternoon. Present Mike has him stay back and watch him stop a few petty criminals. Then asks him his observations on the situations and how they were handled. Only once does Izuku have to get involved, and that's when someone decided to go after a hero in training while Present Mike was busy with his buddy. Izuku evaded him and tripped him up, and by that time, Hisashi was done with his criminal, and he yelled at the man until his ears bled. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 21 of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. Chapter 22 will be up next. I'd love to hear your thoughts and reactions to this set of chapters. I thought they were so great. Again, I was really happy with the pairing for these two. When I started podficking this one, I knew I was going to end up probably doing double chapters when I was posting, just because they're very short and sweet. And I think they've been matching up really well. So I'm really happy that these two were put together like that. I'd love to hear what you thought, though, because personally I thought it was great how the author was showcasing some of those really key fluff moments, right? The first time that Izuku hears that he's loved, right, by Shouta, because he says that out loud. Some of the bonding moments they have, and Izuku becoming more open and trusting with him as he recounts some of his history, as well as the ways that Hisashi and Shouta are taking a lot of efforts to try to work with Izuku on his quirk. And of course, we can't forget about that capture scarf moment. I love fics where Izuku gets to train with the capture scarf as well. And I think it's so great when Shouta takes those opportunities in fanfics. So drop those comments below. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.